Mexico. That's right! This year I'm going to Mexico to fish for tarpon. We are a group of 8 guys from Norway going on this trip, which we booked through a Norwegian company called XXL Adventure. They got arranged fishing trips at many fantastic destinations, so be sure to check them out. I'll put a link to their website in the description below. What I'm gonna do today is showing you basically what you need for a trip like this. Stuff like clothing, rods, flies, what lines you need, and even some packing tips.
So, pay attention.
You know, my mom was so poor she couldn't pay attention. So, let's start with the rods now, shall we? I'm going to use my Geolumis GLX 12 weight rod as my main rod for this trip. And I'm also bringing a spare 12 weight rod. That's because tarpons are famous for breaking rods. Or, in case you break a rod in some other stupid way. So make sure you bring at least one spare rod. Since we are also going to fish in the mangroves, I'm going to use my Geolumis 10 weight rod for this type of fishing. I can also use this rod as my second backup rod in case of an emergency. And it has enough backbone to handle really big fish. Moving over to the reels. My main reel for this trip will be the Loop Opti Big. And as you can see, it is quite big. It is a fantastic reel. Got a really strong and reliable drag system and got shitload of capacity for backing. And these are the most important things when it comes to the reels, especially when you're fishing for big fish. And of course, that they are saltwater resistant. And I'm also bringing 2 or 3 extra reels, just to be on the safe side. The most important thing when it comes to a fly line, when you're fishing in a tropical environment, is that your fly lines are made for tropical conditions. Sorry, but you can't use a normal trout or salmon fly line for this type of fishing. And the reason for that is that there is too warm to use what we call a cold water fly line. And you will not be able to cast this line properly.
So make sure your fly lines are made for tropical conditions, please.
Now, the lines I'm going to use primarily are heavy sinking lines. That's because tarpon fishing in Isla Holbox is a little bit different than you'd normally associate with tarpon fishing. The fishing actually takes place at open sea, so to increase our chances of hooking one of these big mamas, we use heavy sinking lines. So my first choice of fly line here will be the Scientific Anglers Sonar Sink 30 450 grains for my 12 weight rod. And for the mangroves fishing, I'll be using Rio's Flats Pro Stealth Tip fly line. And of course, here as well, I will bring several fly lines for backup. Flies. Where are my flies? Mom! Have you seen my flies?
No, God damn it!
Okay then. Don't worry, I got them.
So shut up!
Here are my flies. And as you can see, very nice box. It's actually Cliff's Bugger Beast Jr. Let's see what's in here. As you can see, my tarpon flies are just standard tarpon flies. You know, some taco flies, and some tortilla flies, and some nachos flies, and some tequila flies, of course. It is extremely important that the hooks on your flies are very, very sharp. Because the tarpon has no teeth, and its mouth is shaped like a bucket. So how to successfully hook and landing a tarpon doesn't necessarily depend on what size or color your fly is, but the sharpness of the hook. I've been on several tropical fishing trips and I always use clothes with sun protection. That's because I easily get sunburned, and I have not even once got sunburned while using this type of clothing. I'm using Sims and Columbia clothing, And I also got 3 or 4 extra shirts, because after 3 or 4 days of fishing you will smell like shit. And I got a couple of Sims pants, and I'm also wearing one right now. When you're buying this type of clothing, make sure they are marked with something like this. Taco! I would never go on a fishing trip without sun gloves. I use them for both hand protection and sun protection. And the reason for that is you will get some cuts and maybe some bruises while retrieving your fly line for 6 or 7 days straight. Believe me, you don't want to get salt water into those cuts and bruises. As you can see here, I have a buff. This is for face protection from the sun. And you can also rob a bank with a buff. You cannot go on a trip like this without polarized sunglasses, or else you will not be able to spot the fish. And of course, for eye protection as well. I got 3 pairs of sunglasses that I will carry on with me. Another tip regarding sunglasses: always carry a lens cloth for cleaning your glasses, because you will get salt water on them. You know what else that is extremely important when you're fishing for tarpon? Leader material. 80 pounds. 80 pounds is extremely thick. And believe it or not, it's actually the 80-pound leader that you're attaching your fly on. You have to use this because the tarpon's mouth will tear up the leader if you don't use this thickness. And this is fluorocarbon, so it's very, very strong. That's also very good. And with this thickness, you can actually strangle your guide if he's not finding any fish. I'm going to use this 80-pound leader when I'm fishing with the heavy sinking lines, and I'm going to use this 52.8 pounds leader when I'm fishing in the mangroves for smaller fish. I said earlier in this video that I was going to give you some packing tips. Watch this. That's right, I bought this hockey bag. Now let's see if I can fit in this bag. I don't need a plane ticket. I can travel in this one. And the price for this bag? $60. When you are booking a trip through XXL Adventure, you actually get a packing list. There is everything you need to know about how to arrive in Cancun, about visa, the program for the days that you're fishing. The whole schedule is here, when the fishing will start and when it will end. Here is everything you need for the trip. Rods, reels, line recommendations, fly recommendations, everything that you need to know. And you also get a signed contract with all the terms and conditions. So you're totally safe when you're buying a trip through XXL Adventure. I have done this before and it was a true pleasure because everything was settled. You just had to arrive. You got picked up at the airport, shipped to the location, and the guides will be ready by the boat every morning. So I can really recommend buying a trip through XXL Adventure. And a very good tip for you. They use the best guides in the area. Oh, I almost forgot. There is one very last tip that I would like to give you. And that is, lip balm. Because you'll never know when you bump into a woman with dry lips. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And if you'd like to check out XXL Adventures website, the link is down below, guys. Cheers!